Hej och välkomna tillbaka till Erik, Penserbank och vår temadag läkemedelsutveckling och läkemedelstillverkning. Jag heter Claes Palin, jag är analytiker på banken och följer life science-sektorn. Vi ska nu gå vidare på agendan och nästa bolag som ska presentera är AcouSort. Och denna presentation kommer göras på engelska så jag byter språk. And here to present AcouSort we have the CEO Torsten Freltoft. Very welcome, Torsten, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And take it away with your presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Claes. Thank you. Thank you for our opportunity here to present AcouSort. At AcouSort, we are focusing on enabling more and better diagnostic faster. But so let me just start introducing 3 very good reasons why you should worry about AcouSort. First of all, we contribute to combat against the top killers of the world: cardiovascular, infectious diseases, and cancer diseases. And secondly, being part of AcouSort is to be part of an ambitious medtech company with a unique enabling technology. And third, of course, but not least, with AcouSort, you have the opportunity to participate in profiting from a significant and highly scalable business opportunity. Before we go into details about AcouSort, I'd like to talk a little bit about these top killers of the world. Now, why do people die in this world? If we look at the statistics, 2/3 of all deaths in the entire world are caused by 3 disease areas. It is cardiovascular diseases, it is infectious diseases, or it's cancer. So these 3 disease areas together account for 64% of all deaths. What can we do to do something about that? And the short answer to this question is, if you can diagnose these diseases as early as possible, the chance to do something about them is a lot better. And now, before again I go into our contribution to this problem, let me explain to you a little bit about how it works if you go to the doctor because you have an issue with something. Let's assume you feel something is wrong. You make an appointment with the doctor, and there up in the upper left corner here of the slide, you are having this discussion with the doctor. He makes some investigation, he discusses with you and asks you questions, and then he decides, to get to the bottom of this, we should probably take a blood test, or make a blood test. So he draws a blood sample, and then what does he do with this? He will usually, in most cases, send it by some kind of courier to a central lab, a big hospital or something, where in their big central laboratory, the qualified lab people will, the first thing they will do is to place the test tube in a centrifuge the sample to separate the blood cells, the red and the white blood cells and the platelets, from what's called the blood plasma, the fluid, the liquid that these cells are in the blood. After this, they take out carefully the blood plasma. Then they use this plasma to make the tests in the analytical equipment, diagnostic equipment that is now in this analytical center. They create a report, and the report is then emailed or sent back to the doctor. After he has investigated or read the report and seen the results, he will call you back into his office whenever you have time, and he has time. And then you have the discussion about the results. At the end of this discussion, he or you together make a decision whether that you should get some prescription drugs, some therapy, or if you should see a specialist within the area. And a typical time for all this to happen is at least 1 to 2 weeks. Now, why do we need to go through this entire long process? This is mainly caused by the sample processing that is needed, the sample preparation, that you have to separate, make this separation of the blood cells and the plasma before you can do the analysis. Now, here is where AcouSort comes in, because we have a technology that can automatically do this separation in a tiny footprint and integrate it in what is called point-of-care technological testing equipment. Point-of-care means that you do the tests where the patient is. So, imagine you have the same problem, you go to the same doctor, you have the same conversation, then he says, we better take a blood test. He pulls out a small cartridge. This cartridge, he make a finger prick, and you deliver maybe 3-5 drops of blood, and sometimes only one. Then this cartridge is placed into a benchtop system, and the benchtop system will, within minutes, give the doctor the results he's asking for, and immediately he and you can discuss what to do about them, what actions to take. So, typical time to action goes from 1 to 2 weeks down to maybe 30 minutes. In this way, any treatment can be started much earlier, and in this way, lives may be saved. But how do we actually do this separation? So let me, in the next couple of slides, just introduce you briefly to our technology. As you see on this upper right, there's a small video which I will start, where you see particles flowing. And as you now turn on ultrasound, then you can focus these particles to different tracks or paths. And in this way, you can manipulate particles in liquids. This technology is called acoustic fluidics, and ultrasound imposes in this way a force on particles to move them around as we want them. This force depends on the size of the particle, the density of the particles, and the compressibility of these particles. And in this way, you can actually distinguish between how you manipulate different types as long as they have a different size or density or compressibility. For separating blood plasma, how does this work in action? Here I will show a small video where you get whole blood coming in from the left, and now there is no sound, ultrasound, but as soon as you turn on the sound, like now, you see all the red blood cells. Those are the ones you actually see. They are focused to the center, and you take them out for themselves, and the blood plasma will come out at the sides. Now we turn on and off the sound just to demonstrate how the technology works. In this way, we can produce 99.99 pure plasma. So, I mean, there's very, very few blood cells left in the plasma coming out on the sides. And also, the plasma quality is maintained, meaning that we don't squash or mesh up the cells in the process. So we don't get the interior from the cells contaminating the plasma. This separation step is necessary for 75% of all analysis made on biological blood samples. And let me now introduce our very first product that can be built into other parties' analytical equipment. Here is a prototype of such a separation module. It's not very large. And if you go back and look at the slide, you will see in the middle of this image a small window, and you see 2 small red lines. These red lines are 2 focused lines of the blood cells, but that means that you now get a window through the plasma, which is what you look through when you don't see the lines between the lines. In this way, you can get optical access. You can shine through light and look at what is absorbed, which frequencies are absorbed. You can do what's called photospectrometry. And in this way, you can analyze the chemical content or other types of fingerprints from this plasma sample. So in this way, you get optical access to the blood plasma just by letting it through our component and turning on the ultrasound. As you can imagine, this gives very quick results. It's very cost effective because you don't have to send around samples and get them back or results back from far away. And because it's small and it has a lean integration into our partners' analytical or diagnostic equipment. And of course, as I mentioned before, it can also be further developed into other types of separations. This product is supposed to be, or we plan to launch it later this year. It's in its very final stage. And, and so this will be our first product aiming at the medical device industry for large volume. But we also already have 2 benchtop system products that we have had for some years. This is called the AcouWash and the AcouTrap. These 2 benchtop systems are for research purposes, and they are used for two purposes. One is by regular researchers at universities, where they provide access to the type of processing that can be done, like these kind of separations, or in terms of the AcouTrap, even separations and handling of particles that are much smaller than biological cells. The other application of these instruments are by our potential OEM customers, so the life science companies that are contemplating to integrate such technology into their next generation of analytical equipment, or they get access to the technology in an operational way by using these instruments. And that is because the core technology is actually OEM compatible. So the small separation modules that we have embedded inside these instruments can be integrated into their equipment as they develop it. But let me now explain the business model of AcouSort. So our goal is to develop and commercialize consumable separation modules, like the one I just showed. So if we, this slide seems a little busy, but at the left side column is AcouSort. In the middle, we have our international life science players, our customers. And to the right, we have the hospitals or clinics or doctors that will be using the instruments that are being developed. So what we provide are components in large volumes, and we provide them to the life science partners, to the developers of the instruments, and our components will then be integrated into their cartridges, one-time use cartridges, like the one you see where the finger prick blood is added. And then when a doctor or some clinician out in the hospital will take a test, then they will use such a cartridge, a one-time use, because you cannot contaminate or risk contaminating blood from different patients in the same cartridge. So therefore, you have to use it only once, or at least very few times, with some cleaning step in between. So as you can imagine, the market for this is quite significant if we manage to make our technology the gold standard within sample preparation processing. But talking about the market and customers, where are we there? Since a few years ago, we already signed the first deal with a large life science company. It's a company called Instrumentation Laboratory in Boston. We have signed a deal with them, so they implement our separation technology, like the one I showed, in their next generation of one of their product families. We are in parallel with this process where we help them implementing this. We have 2 or 3 handfuls of other life science companies we work with. We have the yellow stars are indicating formalized feasibility testing collaborations, and the green ones are more informal discussions or testings. So this is the strategy we have. We work with these different life science partners, and eventually they will adapt and implement our technology in their next generation products. So if we talk about major activities in the coming months, then you can say the overall heading for the current situation we are in is that we are in a transition from being a development company to a production company. So we are in the late stage process, as I said, of finalizing the development and testing. The development has been finalized, but according to our quality management system, we need to do some thorough testing of this component before it can be launched. But this we expect to happen later this quarter, or later this year, sorry. Then we have also installed a semi-automatic assembly system that will enable us to make in the hundreds of thousands initially of this component per year for our customers. And then, of course, late this year, we will launch the product. Then, of course, we will also work in parallel to generate and move forward the leads that I showed on the world map and generate more of those. We will also continue to support Werfen, or instrumentation laboratory, as they used to be called, in implementing the technology that they are doing right now. We will also launch updated versions of the 2 benchtop systems, one already now in October, a new AcouWash, and later this year, or late this year, a new version of the AcouTrap, so they become more user-friendly and cheaper to produce. And then we will, of course, continue our technology development to finally enable even cheaper and higher volume types of components. And then, lastly, we have this week, on Tuesday, we have announced that we will do an emission, share emission in October. And so I will spend the last time of my presentation to talk a little bit about this emission. First of all, the motives. Why do we do this emission? And the overall aim of this is, of course, to strengthen this commercialization of the OEM products. So we will spend more resources on marketing and sales, and also on scale-up of production and developing further separation modules. We will continue also our R&D and towards the very large volume types of components, and then we have a small bridge loan that we will repay. Now, the model and terms for this emission is that it is a rights issue plus with a warrant element, and it will bring in about 40 million Swedish crowns here in 2021. It's built in a way so 6 existing shares will give you 1 unit, and 1 unit will be 1 share and 1 warrant. This unit will be have a price of 21 Swedish crowns. To compare, the 3 months weighted average of the current share price is just over 25. And the warrants will then, if you have for each 3 warrants, you will be able to subscribe an extra share in the company in December next year for 25 Swedish crowns. If all these warrants are exercised, this will bring us in another 15 million. And a little bit about the strategy we have used for this emission process. The entire emission is secured 100%, and and this is put together by subscription obligations 42%, and the rest 58% from subscription guarantees. The group behind this securing is a combination of the people around the company, the board, the management, employees, and founders, and then 10 to 15 very active existing shareholders that we have in the shareholder group. And then the last small bit is covered by a carefully selected small group of new investors. Unfortunately, I cannot talk too much about the details here, but they will be published together with the prospectus on the 27th September, or we aim at the 27th. So the last slide here is about the emission, is the timeline. So as you can see, we have last trading of shares, including the subscription, on the 23rd. So there's still time to acquire shares if you want to participate through subscription rights. But otherwise, later the subscription rights will be also traded at the stock exchange. So on the 27th, we have the estimated date for making the prospectus public, and then the trading of subscription rights will go on from this date on 29th until 8 October, and the subscription period will be from 29 September to 13 October. Then at 15 October, we anticipate to be able to publish the result of the emission. So, in general, and as a summary at the end, I would like to re-emphasize the 3 best reasons I have to be part of AcouSort. To participate in the combat against top killers of the world, cardiovascular, infectious, and cancer diseases. It's to be part of an ambitious medtech company with a unique technology. And thirdly, of course, to exploit this opportunity to profit from this significant and highly scalable business adventure. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Torsten, for a very interesting presentation. You seem to have come a long way with the company already, but yet to get the real sales going. I think it was mentioned in a report or something like that, that you believed you could be selling like 100,000 separation modules, or produce at least. What kind of income or revenue would such
yes, we
generate?
It's the price per the sales price per unit will depend a lot on the volume that we sell, and also the cost price for producing them. I mean, because the cost price for producing these units will depend a lot on how many. But we anticipate that unit sale prices will be in the $15-20 range per piece, and so depending, of course, on the sale, it will you can multiply. Initially, I mean, at long term, when the volumes become really large, then maybe the prices will also have to come further down. But this is our expectation, at least initially. As I have mentioned also earlier, we think that the full potential, I mean, when it's fully phased in, of just one deal like the one we already have, in case we will deliver all of their components, which we don't know, but if we are, this will be roughly 500,000 to 700,000 per year for only one application, for only one customer.
Okay, and you have a scalable production in
we
place?
Yes, we have a scalable production. We can, I mean, right now, the setup can do 100,000 per year. We can very easily, I mean, that's one shift. So, I mean, just doing 2 shifts will give us 200,000. Then there is a sort of mirror opportunity. So we can put 2 assembly stations on the same bench. So that will double again. So that would give us 400,000. And of course, if we need more than, when we need more than that, we can build more lines. When we get to really high volumes, we will most probably outsource this to companies that are really, very high volume oriented. My experience is that if companies that are really used to doing very high volumes, they can always do a better job in cost cutting than you can yourself. But we need to be in control of the production process until it becomes standard for us, and then it's much more easy to outsource.
And you showed a picture about collaborations and presence. But are you interested to increase your presence in any particular markets, or are you satisfied as it is?
I mean, we have basically 4 markets. You can say we have Europe, naturally. We have US, and we have Japan and Korea. Those are the 4 places we are present today. Mm-hmm. And we are contemplating a little bit to start working with China, but hesitant still. The big players, there are big players in China also, but mostly domestic. And but otherwise, we are satisfied with the market as such. But we will, of course, work hard to get more stars on this world map.
Mm-hmm. And you have this agreement with Werfen, and I guess it has been developing very well and according to plans. And I think I also had mentioned that this could be expanded. If you could elaborate a little bit about what that means.
That's right. I mean, the deal we have with Werfen is for them to use our technology for one specific application in one specific product family. But we are working on and off with Werfen to identify and explore using our technology for other product lines or other applications within their expanding families or products or point of care products. So you're right. We have processes that could make the red star double stars or triple stars, maybe even.
Yeah, and when you're out there and talking to new potential collaborators, OEM players, I mean, do you find a great interest in your product, or maybe you can just tell us a little bit how the discussions goes?
Yes, no, we have a very, very curious interest initially. I mean, because people have been, it's not a secret, people have been worrying about how can you make this sample preparation automated or integrated in the equipment, so you don't have to fiddle around with this before you actually do the measurement for years. Mm-hmm. And some people have tried to develop solutions automating centrifugation. I mean, just think about how do you put it, make it small, put it into something that it works automatically. Very hard to imagine. Some people have tried, not successfully. Others have tried to use filters. I mean, physical filters where you press the blood through some filter, and then the blood cells will stay behind, and only the plasma will go through. The problem there is that clots really, really fast because there are so many blood cells. And secondly, you will very easily lose the analyte also, or some of it, in the filter, so that you don't measure the right levels when you get to the sensor.
And I guess the first product this that you're launching now, and this is CE marked, or what's the regulatory status?
Yes, the thing here is that we have an ISO 13485 allowance, which means that we have a quality management system that permits us to deliver to the medical device industry. Then it is the CE marking or FDA approvals are not on our shoulders, it's on our customers' shoulders, because they will be delivering and supplying the final instrument to the final customer.
Okay.
So this is also why we have this strategy, because lifting this burden of getting a final instrument cleared through FDA or CE marked is a very tedious and costly process, and that our partners and customers are used to do and have the strength to do.
And what would be the regulatory pathway in, for example, the US?
In the US, for like Werfen or IL there, they have to go through FDA, I mean, do clinical tests with the instruments and clinical tests, yes, to prove that the instrument, including our feature or our technology, actually works as it's supposed to.
Okay, great. I actually don't have any more questions, but I think it's a really exciting company and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Torsten.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Och tack alla som har lyssnat på oss idag, och hoppas att ni har hittat några guldkorn bland dessa spännande bolag. Jag heter som sagt Claes Palin och får tacka för att ni har tagit er tid att lyssna och önskar välkomna tillbaka till vår nästa temadag. Tack och hej!